Can we start the meeting, please? Or the recording? Thank you. This is the meeting for March 18th, 2025 of the Harwich Traffic Safety Committee. We have a quorum present, so the meeting is open. First on the agenda is approval of the minutes of September 9th, 2024 and December 17th, 2024. However, our scribe has not yet presented the minutes for September, so it is only for December. We have you were sent the minutes. Anybody
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes with the following changes. You referenced in the item A, Pleasant Bay Road. That was actually off of Long Pond Drive.
Long Pond Drive.
And down below, same section A, 1, 2, 3, third paragraph down, you referenced it again. It should be Long Pond Drive, not Pleasant Bay Road.
Long Pond Drive. Okay. Any other corrections? Is there a second to that?
I'll second that. What was the second part of that, Mike?
3 paragraphs down on A.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Berner also requested consideration as Long
Okay, I
Pond
got
Drive.
it.
Got it? Motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Just reminding under announcements, members need to complete the conflict of interest training as required. I know I had to do mine. Jerry, you did yours. Link, where are you? Are you up for it?
All done.
Done?
Done.
Okay.
Done months ago.
And my apologies, we have a brand-new member. We are pleased as punch, Karen Murata, and she has joined us. She's been duly sworn in.
Yes.
And she has to take her conflict of interest training. But I think you have 60 days to do it or something like that.
Yeah, I'll get it done this week.
So this is the first time in how long we've had a full contingent? Aram is not here this morning, but a full contingent. It's been years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No,
Thank you
you're
for
welcome.
stepping up.
Thank you for having me.
We did file our annual report, our town report for 2024, so it'll be in the book. And I was asked by the voter information services to do a brief PSA on what the committee does. And so I did that on February 4th, and they all got taped, the various committees. They were saying, what is this, what is that, what do you do? And so that was taped, and it's being played as part of a packet of what committees do. So that was kind of nice.
On Channel 8.
On Channel 8. We actually, yes, you have to keep reminding myself it's Channel 8. Okay, old business. Let's get the trumpets out. Miles Pleasant South intersection is complete. Lincoln, thank you for all your efforts on getting that foolish thing done.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, the DPW had that done within a week once the pole was removed.
Absolutely.
It's taken 2+ years to get the utilities to move the pole.
Yes, once the pole, because it was put in a new pole for the public, put in a new pole, move the wires, and that is what took 2 years. As soon as that last set of wires was done, I think you were instantaneously on the job, digging up, doing this, doing that, moving this.
So it's not completely done. You might notice that somebody drove around it. We're
Early
going to
on.
place a rock there. We've been waiting to meet the direct abutters there and finally ran into somebody. Both of them are in rest homes and not coming back. We talked to, I guess, an ancillary relation there and said, do whatever you want. We're going to spruce it up. We're going to put some ornamental grasses and some trees and just make it look a little bit nicer than it currently does, and seed it as well.
That sounds great.
Quick question, Link. The work on Route 28 for the new sidewalk, the poles are part of the project. They're going to be moved quicker than what was happening in Miles and South.
I think that comes under new business, if you'd be so kind as to hold that.
Okay. Thank you.
So I think I noticed the person going through the old slipper lane, it was fairly at the beginning of when you finished your work, and I think somebody just went through and it was like, oh my, I shouldn't be doing this, or when did this change? But I'll be charitable.
There was a few rumblings, so I'm not sure it was not intentional. But we're gonna make it so it's impossible.
And more, I think putting up that, the piece of fencing.
So my hope, Madam Chair, is that we're gonna spruce it up, probably plant some grasses in front of the fencing and so forth, and then when everyone's used to it, remove the fence.
Okay. That makes sense. Remove the fence. Once you get the plantings up, it's more obvious.
Right.
So
But again,
this will be
great.
something new for the summer residents, because we didn't put it in till,
That's correct.
so we'll hear more grumblings in this late spring.
I've received a couple of actually written letters thanking me for making those changes. And the rumblings were in something on Facebook, which I don't indulge in.
Yep.
So I've heard it through others.
And I've had a couple of people speak to me in the opposition, so. Told them to pay attention to town meetings, and they'll be informed rather than surprised.
And it has been a topic that has been on the agenda and discussed twice at the select board, multiple times here. You do have to.
Been
pay
at least 3 years.
Yeah, this has been in the making for 3 years. And I did get a note from a resident thanking us for getting that done.
You never get handwritten notes any
Handwritten
longer, letters,
notes.
and I got 2 of them from this.
So that's really nice. Okay, Old Chatham Road and Route 39, affectionately known as Hope and Go. And I know that the engineering is in process, Lincoln?
Yeah, actually Megan Eldridge last Monday, not yesterday, the one before, gave a project update. I thought I had it with me, and I don't, but I know most of it. So I've got preliminary design that's been given to me. It appears we do not need private property. And it also appears the poles don't need to be moved. So everything's looking good, finalizing things. We hope to, part of the bid to have VHB design this was to have them provide bidding support. So the next thing would be to roll out the design, see if the board wants a presentation or not, and then go and bid it and get it constructed. Hopefully, I'm shooting for a fall construction.
Wow.
I mean, there's other steps that I'm glazing over, but in all, I'm thinking we could have a fall construction on that intersection.
Cool. So you didn't need, so whatever was done, we didn't need to approach the homeowner to get part of that.
I have, and she has been extremely amenable to whatever the town's needs to straighten that out. She personally didn't care. Her one thing was about slowing the traffic entering Chatham Road down, which we will do with a little bump out there, so it's not you need to slow down to, under 30 to make the corner there.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you spoken with the water department? Because the previous superintendent had a question about doing some water work there.
I have not since Dan was talking about it. I spoke to the previous water superintendent. We said we were going to coordinate efforts. I've not had any discussions with the new water superintendent or know what they need to do. We're not disturbing that much pavement under there, so it's not like a road where we would say, hey, utility companies, including the water, if you've got any antiquated infrastructure, now is the time to update. I don't think this project is one of those, but I could have a conversation with Jason just to see
That would be
what he's
smart,
going
so
to
we
do or
don't
not do.
disturb it twice and see if
Great.
there's.
So that's one off our list, and this one has been on the list for,
Well, it's been on your list for a while.
it's been on my list for at least 10 years. We move at a glacial pace. A glacial pace. And a large part of that is having to deal with all the procurement, if you have to deal with outside entities. But we keep on.
Where's the money going to come
And
from?
where's the money, and the
that's-
big thing
that's a
is,
big
where's
one.
the money going to come from? These things have to be funded. So, Great. So those are our two old business. We're down to number 5. We're just moving along here, which is great. Update on intersection at Depot and Route 28. I think that we've had, people have asked, residents have asked for some kind of crosswalk or something at that intersection. It is a state road, so we can't do anything. And between the road curving, the hill that comes over one side, it is not the best of intersections. I know, Link, you've talked to,
Mass DOT did an intersection audit on them at the last resident's request, and I forget the woman's name, but they actually sent a crew out, did some survey, looked at it, and said it does not meet any standards for a crosswalk without control, which essentially means putting in a signalized intersection.
At the cost of a few $100,000.
you have a cost of, yes.
Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the, I mean, I had someone contact me again, and I said I would bring it up, but it's the, I mean, that is the issue. It's, in order to actually, just because you put a crosswalk somewhere, that doesn't make you safe.
If you,
Go ahead.
if you put a crosswalk at a corner, people coming around the corner see you in the middle of the road, and it may be too late. If you're on a hill, they're coming over, they may not see you. And the town, through the Traffic Safety Committee and on the DPW website, has a policy for requesting crosswalks. So it's something that the public can go look at it, fill it out, and then we will review what happens with it.
In connection with whatever the transportation rules are, the road rules, what you do here, what you do there, how much space you need, they're not, it's not take a bucket of paint
Yeah, it has to meet.
and a brush.
Has to meet Mass DOT Section 2 of the Design Guide and MUTCD, Municipal Traffic Control Devices. I think I missed a letter in there somewhere. But there's standards that have to be met with travel speed and so forth, and line of sight issues, and that is not a candidate for anything. This is the second time that Mass DOT has looked at this. Jerry may recall back in the 2000s, I think it was the late 2000s, we took a stab at this as well to try to get a crosswalk there. Something that's needed. Unfortunately, it doesn't meet any standards without control.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. Because it is, and so many of our roads, even you drive down 28, and it kind of does this, and it wiggles around back and forth, and you're not really sure what's coming from the other side. It's, I suppose if we spent a couple of $1 billion, we could straighten Route 28, and that would solve a lot of problems, take the hills out. That's probably not going to happen either.
Yeah, no, it's there might be something that could be done short of full signalization. I'm not sure what, and it all needs to go through Mass DOT to do anything.
And even if it was one of those signals that you can push the button to get, if you want to cross, it's still not going to be any cheaper than putting up a stoplight.
I believe you have to have sidewalks on both sides, or where you just can't dump somebody into.
Well, they would, so yes, Jerry, you're partially correct. They don't make you have sidewalks, but you need to have landing pads, tactile warning strips, and at least one section of sidewalk. So they'll build it so you have a landing place, but nowhere to walk once you get there.
Unlike the one in Harwich Port by the little park there where they have their artwork display where the sidewalk goes from one side, crosswalk, and then into a fence.
Okay.
The state in its wisdom.
Okay.
Well, we got a lot of DOT projects going on right now, both some that finished up, like the Azalea Drive Bridge project. We've got the Route 28 sidewalk, we got the West Harwich tip project. I don't think I have, the culvert project is not funded by DOT, that's NRCS. I'm missing one, but I know that we've got the trail modernization project.
Yes, that's going to be huge.
For the Old Colony Rail Trail.
That'll be huge. That's a CPC-funded project.
No,
yes.
ma'am, that's entirely funded by Mass DOT.
Wow.
They've already funded the conceptual design They're in the process of bringing a designer on board under contract, and this was a brand-new program. This was the first penguin off the ice floe, so to speak, and it's slated for 2027.
Cool.
So stay tuned. That should modernize all the crossings, particularly the ones that I have. We've done all of them, as you may know. We've done all of them that was low-hanging fruit where I felt comfortable that we could simply go out and install them. I haven't done 124 at Old Colony or Oak at Old Colony because of the complex nature of those two crossings. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we haven't done those two. Everything else, we've put them on, but this trail modernization project is going to focus on all of the crossings. So a prime example is the one out on 39, diagonally across the road. You've exposed bicycle riders and pedestrians to a very long crossing unnecessarily. So realignment of those crossings is what the project is going to focus on.
Cool. And this project right now is Harwich. It's not the whole
This
rail
is
trail.
just the Old Colony Rail Trail, so the project limits would be the roundabout, the bicycle roundabout, down the way, I don't know, about a mile and a half down this direction towards Dennis, and the Chatham line on the Old Colony Rail Trail, which is a little past Depot
Yeah.
Road.
Wow, great. So that is good stuff. So we've gotten the engineering design, so we're now, so correspondence on that. Someone brought up, we did get a note. This is correspondence that Ridgevale and Route 28. And it was the residents walked down to Red River Beach, the corner of Ridgevale and 28, which is not the depot, not the Uncle Vinny's, but a Ridgedale. And so they're looking for, what can we do? They know that it's a state road. Most state, hands are tied because 28 is a state road. How can we get safer pedestrian options there? So I think we probably, can take a, couple of us can go over and take a look at that and see what is there.
Madam Chair?
Yes?
I think, with your consent, I'd like to just send their email, if you can forward it to me, to Mass DOT Legislative Branch.
For
with this
review.
For review.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Because there are times when we need to have the professional traffic safety people, the design engineers, look at this stuff.
Oh, I found my...
You got it. Okay, I thought I'd send it to everybody.
No, I have this. If you would send me that email, I'd forward that along. And at least my experience is their willingness to go out and put boots on the ground, look at it, and give us a formal response.
Lincoln has cultivated a very good relationship with all these people. So when he calls up, he's reasonable and they're reasonable back. So we really appreciate that.
Madam Chair, if we could go back, I have the project update of Chatham Road at 39.
Yep.
I was, just real quick, I'll just say, the roadway survey utility right-of-way research was completed July and August of '24. Field survey base map, October of '24. Preliminary layout was December. Completed 50% design submission, which is what they just gave me. It's not for public consumption yet. 50% design review due by end of April. Final design and book submitted, looking at May and June. Construction fall.
Great.
So I was pretty close.
Would you send me that?
Sure.
So I can put it as part of the minutes, because that is great.
Sure.
All right. So we're under 6, new business. Update on the sidewalks now, Jerry.
They're doing a good job, moving at a rapid pace. The question I had was, the poles being moved. There's poles that are right in the middle of the new layout. That is part of the contract, and that's being done at the cost of the state doing the sidewalk.
This 3,300 feet of sidewalk is a construction tab on of 2.4 million. There is a portion of that where they.
How many feet?
3,300 linear feet of sidewalk.
Less than a mile.
Strong math skills. $2.4 million. I don't remember how much, but I'm going to assume there's probably $500,000 or maybe a little less for utility money to have them move their infrastructure. So they are being paid to move it, whereas when we ask for something moved, we say, you're in our right-of-way, move it, and yeah, therein lies the difference. The two poles you see set down by Cold Brook, that was a request, I don't know, 3 weeks ago during the utility coordination site walk that we did, and Lynch was viewing that crossing as a possible pinch point or a bottleneck in the project schedule. Even though they won't start that to September, they needed all those poles desperately moved out of the way so they can work on pouring what's called a moment slab. It's going to be a slab that's poured in place for the roadway to hold the sidewalk. We were all pretty shocked to see how responsive Verizon was on this project. They had those poles in the following week after the request went in. Now, you will see Lynch will go along and build the sidewalk with the poles sitting in the sidewalk. They will even top it, and it may look finished. I mean, not strict that. They will put the sidewalk in binder, and it may appear finished to you, but it'll be 1.5 inches shy of what the curbing and all the other finished grades are. And the poles will still be there. That's not unusual. If the poles are out of the way, great. If they're not, they get moved. As soon as they move, Lynch does the top coat, finishes it, and done. All the poles on the entire project are being moved to the right-of-way line. So the back line, property line of residents and the Mass DOT right-of-way is exactly where they're putting all the poles. So all of them are getting moved. There's not any of them that are staying put.
So in the construction, previously we had gotten a donation from an organization on Snow Inn Road to mark the boundaries from Snow Inn Road down to the overlook of the harbor and back a distance towards Harwich Center, so that we could see line of sights because of the crashes at Snow Inn and Freeman. Some of those hedges that were within that layout after they had staked it are now trimmed back, so that's going to improve the line of sight on Freeman Route 28, Snow Inn Road.
As well, having 5.5 feet of additional sidewalk.
That will absolutely improve line of sight in that area, because that's another area that has that little hill that comes over, and yeah. Getting those bushes cut back is a big deal.
This is, this project, although it's been 14, so that'll be 11 years in the making. It's a one-off. You do not see Mass DOT construct sidewalks on one side of the road. It does not meet any of their current standards for complete streets, which require sidewalks on both sides of the road and 5-foot bike lanes on both sides of the road. Nobody wanted to see a 43-foot build out there or pretty much anywhere on Cape Cod. And we got design exceptions to construct this sidewalk. And Mass DOT and a retired planner named Pam Hasner did the town of Harwich a real solid by getting this.
Yes, I recall a meeting when they had it at the community center, and they wanted it to cross the road and go down to Gorham, and they were acceptable to that as well.
Yeah, they are. They're doing that, going all the way to Gorham.
I'm going to be interested to see how they deal with the culvert.
We're not actually working in the resource. So the momentary, what I described was a momentary slab. So they'll actually form up a slab on there and pour a slab in place, and that'll support the sidewalk. So they're not bearing anything, nothing will be bared on the existing culvert.
Got it, okay.
You know, so that's the design. That took a long time to design. It's mind-boggling how much money's tied up in one little crossing. But that is a pinch point, like I said earlier, for the project, and that's why those 2 poles have been set by Verizon already.
Thank you very much for your update.
Yeah, thanks for the update.
The selectmen and the town have been pushing for this for,
2014, they wrote DOT a letter saying, hey, would you build a sidewalk? Town's going to be putting $10 million into the harbor project. DOT wrote back and said, sure, we'd be happy to. Next time we're in the neighborhood doing some resurfacing work, which apparently wasn't worth the paper it was printed on.
well, perseverance sometimes.
That's,
We have learned.
you know, my former boss, Chris Clark, the board made this a priority to get this moving, and his tactic was to have bi-weekly conference calls with District 5 director, and we did. And that actually led to Mass DOT doing the survey in 2018, which the plans are all based on. So it was the fact that, you know, Town of Harwich isn't going away here that really, I think, gets it constructed. And it didn't hurt that a long-term planner that I had a relationship with had helped us with numerous projects. And my opinion only, I think she felt bad for the town in the 124 project. And this was a parting gift on her retirement, in my humble opinion.
I think it is true, though, the perseverance, the something about the squeaky wheel gets the grease, et cetera.
Yep.
You got to keep reminding, because I'm sure all these people at MassDOT do not have one project on their desks. They have like
Rest
8
assured.
million. So if they don't have to go into that file because these are the fires, you keep asking them and checking on it, they'll pull it out and they'll start it moving, because it's who's asking. And so I think we do a good job here in terms of kind of moving it along. Okay, anything else on that?
No, we're having continually bi-weekly construction meetings. We've had a couple of butters that were, said they were surprised by the construction activity that's gone on and didn't know and so forth. In this particular project, this is a Mass DOT project. So the town was responsible for designing it. Once they've designed it, it's their project. Although I work cooperatively with them, they have asked that any of the requests for information or any complaints go directly to DOT for them to handle. I've set up a process in my office for that to happen, but you won't see me out there working unilaterally with abutters as I have on most projects.
Okay.
But it's a good collaboration, a great contractor in Lawrence Lynch, good resident engineers from Mass DOT, and I'm very enthusiastic this thing will get constructed in 2 seasons.
So this has been going on for 14 years, yet there's abutters that are surprised.
Nice weather we're having, Jerry.
Well, not everybody pays attention. Some of them might be summer
Well,
people.
I just step back and say I was dealing with one yesterday. A crosswalk was moved to a different location, and the person on the other side of the street from the sidewalk was told there was nothing happening out there when they asked 2 or 3 years ago. So they were taken by surprise legitimately. There's legitimate reasons for that. However, if Mass DOT was doing anything on their property, they would be aware, because their right-of-way section went and secured the right-of-way for this. So
Meaning it's all on state land.
all of the permanent construction there were a few permanent easements you needed for utilities. So, let's say a guy wire comes down between a property, and they try to put that on adjacent property lines as well. So the poles, they've really gone out of their way to try to minimize a butter objection by putting poles on adjoining property lines between two people and on their own property line. So usually, most of them will say at intersections of three different property lines. They've gone out of their way, in my opinion, to try to minimize the impacts to abutters on this, but still, people do get upset when, and rightfully so, when they get surprised by something happening in front of their house, even though it might not be their land. They've been cultivating that and felt like it was their grass or their plantings and so forth.
Well, I know I live on 28, right by the Dairy Queen, and many years ago, the road was being redone in that section, and I know I called you up and said, do I have to move my tree? Is the tree going to get damaged? And you said, talk to Mass DOT. It was probably a day later, I had a knock on the front door with some guy, and he said, I'm here to talk to you about your tree. And he assured me that the roots weren't going to be damaged, where they were doing work, very responsive. So I said, okay, I was willing to have to deal with the tree, but I think it's your responsibility to ask those questions. But yes, they were very responsive.
So my point to Mr. Beltis was that, as a project develops, plans change, and something from a year and a half ago might not be true today because of some modifications to the plans. So then, something happens that people can be unaware of, even though it's been in the queue for, what did we say, 2014, so 11 years.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that, do some of the rules change? 11 years ago, you could do this. Now you can't do that. You have to do this.
That's what makes this entire project so remarkable, is DOT has changed their policies. Specifically in 2021, they mandated that, so the safe routes to school, another project I forgot about, I got going on, that I have to secure the right of way for. Safe routes to school, so we're going around the elementary school, down Main Street, South Street, and Sisson. Gonna start it out in 2018 to R&R those sidewalks, which most of them are 3 or 4 feet, non-compliant, non-ADA compliant sidewalks. The project was going to remove those. All of a sudden, 2022, design came out, and they had 8-foot multimodal lanes rather than 5-foot sidewalks everywhere. I know 3 feet doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is a dramatic difference. And when I pushed back, Mass DOT agreed to have a public informational meeting in advance of their 25% design hearing, of which a butter objection, they heard loud and clear and contracted it and gave us design exceptions for 5-foot sidewalks, and kept on Main and Sisson with an 8-foot multimodal lane on South in front of the school. So they have been amenable, but yes, their design standards have changed. Everything is complete streets all the time, which doesn't fit the character of Cape Cod hardly anywhere. So yes, I think they've been pretty responsive to the town's needs, and this is a one-off project that I've never seen in my entire career anywhere.
Okay. Next on our agenda is the Cape Cod Commission held a meeting. Link, Jerry and I attended, it was by Zoom, and it was talking about high incident areas, specifically in Harwich, traffic incident areas. And one of you want to give some update on that? I took some notes, I know. The whole idea was they went through some slides and some information as to what were high incident areas, specific streets, what could be done to improve. The whole point was to improve traffic safety for vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles. And there was no conversation about cost in any of this. It was only the concepts. And I did hear that. No money, so.
I didn't know when Mass DOT became about bicycle and pedestrian safety alone and vehicles no longer matter. That's what I got out of that hour-long meeting.
Yes, all of a sudden,
Chair.
yes, doesn't count, yes. So they went through some stats, how many crashes there had been. I found it interesting that of all these crashes, it comes down to, there was 1,300 crashes in these 7 intersections over 6 years. That sounds like a lot. About 60% of them were reckless, were tabbed as reckless driving, speeding, distracted and impaired, reading the cell phone. So that really takes down the actual crashes. I found that was interesting that you can have this number of 1,300. That sounds like a huge amount. It's over 6 years. And then you take out the operator who have caused their own crash. And then you get to what are the real issues. And that was much more interesting to me.
And they took Route 6 out, too.
And they took Route 6 out of this.
Like, if you want to do something in town, that damn thing backs up the highway all year round now. Not just, it used to be just the summer,
And they left Route 6 out
and they left it
completely.
completely out.
Well, here's a group that's from out of state, I won't name any more than that looked at numbers, and I believe they were using these numbers to look to build a project to gain funding. Some of the roads that they mentioned in their report were wild to hear them talking about roads here in Harwich. And one of them that they wanted to speak about was Bell's Neck Road.
Bell's Neck Road.
They wanted to make a multimodal road, sidewalks, bike lanes, and
Yeah, I know.
so
And we were
group-
sitting there and said, that's a private dirt road.
So they were talking about their project and looking at their numbers for their purposes, rather than visiting the town that maybe they haven't even visited from out of state. And it was a bureaucratic meeting that, I don't know, in my eyes, it took away any relevance of their expertise.
Well, there were also certain, they brought up the safe routes, and Lincoln said, we have a project doing that, we have a safe school. They said, oh, and the Bell's Neck one, it's a dirt road, so we're going to put multimodal, 8-foot, this, that, and the other. It's a dirt road.
I think they were concerned with the intersection alignment there, and we said, there's really like 3 houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
They talked about our favorite Hope and Go, that Chatham Route 39. We said, we're in process of fixing that. So some of the stuff they brought up, Link was already working on. So, I mean, I think it was unfortunate that they hadn't actually asked us, what are you doing in town, before making all these suggestions?
Yeah, there's a huge lack of communication between
Yeah, there was.
the consulting group out of state versus the reality of Harwich. They need to become.
that was commission funded, wasn't it? That was local
I
funded.
believe
Or was that
s-
DOT funded? I don't
I
remember who was
couldn't
writing the check.
get straight who actually funded this study.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's,
moving on, yes.
So we did attend, so we do keep in touch with them, and if they have any meetings, we do that. And it's also called Vision Zero. The idea is that you have 0 traffic accidents.
we could apply that to a different zero vision.
So, when we
Sorry.
stop selling alcohol, that we can go down to 0. I think the last thing on the agenda is anything else to come before the committee and public comment.
Welcome.
Yeah, actually, one of the reasons I came is because you could work.
Sit there so you gotta get on camera, What's your name, sir?
Derek Kalowitz. I live on Uncle Vini's or Uncle Vanny's, depending who you ask. Actually, my wife's here and my sister-in-law too. So the reason I came, because I heard that you had the Depot Road and Uncle Vanny's crossing on Route 28, and just wanted to bring to your attention that during summer, that intersection's very hard to cross via car. Never mind be a bicyclist or pedestrian. Because I live there year-round, I see quite a difference between now versus a couple months from now. Just crossing that one way or the other is very impossible. I've seen a lot of close calls with a lot of cars People that I think they live in the neighborhood tend to try to let you go by, but people that are vacationers and things like, people that don't live in town, they tend to just kind of zoom in through that whole intersection. So I don't know what you can do about that, short of a light, but it's very busy, and then there's also the pedestrians and the bicyclists going by. So just kind of wanted to bring that to your attention, because that street is being used to go to the Red River Beach quite
Yeah.
a bit, and it gets really busy during the summer.
Link, is there, I'm trying to think of that, are there any signs there, my mind has drawn a blank, of dangerous intersection ahead, those advisory sign things?
No, there's nothing on Route 28 that shows coming from the east or west, especially
Okay.
from the west. There's nothing there.
Yeah, because that hill, like, especially when you're trying to cross over, you sometimes have to almost
Yeah, you
step on the
have to
gas
look, you have
to
to,
really go through.
you have to look
Yeah.
left, right, left, left, and it is difficult. I had a neighbor who was in a crash. There's been a few crashes. If the police were here, we could probably get a number to the crash.
Yeah,
I'm sorry?
Last week, there was a crash, and we had to go around because, for a different way.
The problem is the hill, and,
The hill's a
I
big
can't move
problem.
a hill yet. So,
But we're looking to our newest member to move the hill.
I'd suggest, I'll give you my business card, and I have my email on it. If you email me your concerns about this intersection, and possibly maybe a couple other people, some neighbors or something, I will forward all of that to DOT, to the legislative liaison I've been working with. I have found them to be more amenable in listening to these sorts of situations than they have been in the past. So no promises, but at least if they see that this isn't going away, they might give it a little more serious consideration.
And if they do a study, I would highly recommend during the summer, during the high season, not
in December?
off-season.
but in the short term, you're looking for signage on Route 28 to say, dangerous intersections, please slow down, or something like
Yeah,
that.
I'm
So if
looking-
when you do your email, if you have some action that you see elsewhere that's legal.
Oh, they jump right on that because it's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
I can't go put the sign up on 28.
Yeah, yeah,
But
because
if you see something on another state road that's a legal sign, and copy that and say, this is what we're looking for, then that gives them an action to go for. If you just complain about something, then they have nothing to say, what are you asking for?
Yeah,
If you give them an ask, that would help everybody.
okay.
I'm also going to suggest that you write up, say, a little paragraph on what it is, and get the rest of your neighbors to sign it.
Gotcha.
Because having an entire neighbor, that's the tack that we take, and Jerry had suggested it some time ago, that when one neighbor shows up to get something done, but nobody else in the neighborhood wants it, now you create a different level of hoop-de-doo. But if you have, that's what we did on Cross Street over the past couple of years. The neighbors got together, had a bunch of suggestions, we were able to implement most of them, and I think it's cleaned up that area. But when you have the neighborhood saying, we would like to see if these things could get done, that's the stuff that they're going to listen to.
Yes, and when I spoke to the meeting at the Cultural Center regarding Miles Cross, Harwich Port, and traffic, my suggestion was, tell us what you want. Instead of us doing what we think is right, we'll do what you think you want done. And it works a lot easier if we're doing something that you want instead of you fighting us and us fighting you.
Gotcha.
So I would suggest that.
That's how I got involved in this committee, because I came before you in December, and what we did was we were talking about the speed limit of 39, and we went around with a petition, and we got a whole page of our neighbors with the same concern as that, and then we submitted that to the committee, so.
So because of the curvature of the road, a crosswalk.
People can't hear you from back there, so boogie on up.
Yeah, I'm Carol Karlowitz, his wife. Because of the curvature of the road, it's impossible, from what I'm hearing, for them to put in a crosswalk.
So because of a number of factors, primarily the hill,
Okay.
not the curb, but the hill coming from the west,
Okay.
traveling east, is such that I believe it's a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit out there. There's not enough sight distance, meaning the car crosses the hill
Okay.
to see where the crosswalk to stop appropriately. So they have tables on all this, actuarial tables. Computers
Yeah.
do it all for you now. DOT actually came out and did an intersection audit
Right.
of that.
Okay.
And said it does not meet any
Okay.
crossing
So-
standards without further controls, which generally means a full signalization,
And that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
usually, yes.
Yeah. Not the cost of a pack of chewing gum, no. It's a
Yeah.
lot of money to do these
Okay.
A
things.
light pole and the
Right.
work to service and traffic signals, it's,
Okay.
it's outrageous. So putting a crosswalk on top of the hill, ideally so that everybody could see that's coming up, but then people getting to the crosswalk from Depot, they'd have to go in front of the restaurant where there's very little room, so a sidewalk
Right.
would have to be constructed. On the other side, getting back to it, and
Yeah.
I don't know what the good answer is. The problem has been there for many, many years.
Of
You're not
course,
the
yeah.
first,
Well, look,
but
it was '08, I think you and I looked at that along with some other people and DOT. I think it was 2008, my
your
memory serves.
memory's
Right.
better than mine, Lynn, thank you.
I mean, you know, in a dream world, you know, a crosswalk would be great or a traffic signal, but I do like the idea of having signage saying, hey, listen, you're coming up upon a dangerous
Yeah,
curve.
there's-
Because people do fly.
They do, they've come out of town,
Yeah.
and they think they just speed up, because of course, nobody else is on the road
Right.
trying to cross it.
Right.
And we're trying to encourage people to cross. People
Right.
are walking with children, et cetera, and there are places where, yeah,
Well, I do like your idea, Madam Chair, of having them write something and have their neighbors sign it.
Yep.
The more people you get to sign on
Right.
here, I think the more opportunity
Right.
exists to do something. You know, there could be some RFBs, rapid flashing beacons, short of a full signalization. You're still, in my humble opinion, into this for a couple $100,000.
Right, and Mass
Just-
DOT wouldn't fund it, even though it's a state road, or how is that?
There's processes.
Okay.
Absent them actually doing something on their own volition, which I'm thinking, you know, if we keep at it,
Right.
then there might be opportunity. Mass DOT would, most Mass DOT projects are what's funded under what's called the Transportation Improvement Program. TIP projects where the town's obligated to design something to their standards, and then they fund the construction of it and oversee it. The problem with this is you're 5 to 7 years out for seeing anything. Whereas if we keep the noise going,
Yeah.
you send me some more stuff with some
Wait for our neighbors to come.
neighbors, neighbors saying, this is, you know, this is dangerous, we really need to do something. The more they hear,
Yeah.
the more apt they are to maybe do something on their own volition.
Okay.
could we ask them to put up those dangerous intersection signs?
Sure, I think if they I'm happy to do it, but if they mention something in their letter about that, I predict it'll be done just like that,
Yeah, I was
because
gonna
that's
say that-
low-hanging
that might be-
fruit.
So, going back to regulations, the speed limit is maybe 40. To
think it's
change
40.
the speed limit, Link and I and Linda have learned that it's an act of God. So the town has done a request for a couple of roads in town. They have to put a vehicle out there and measure the speed of how many vehicles, and then they get the 85 percentile, and that is what they generally go with the speed. So when the town asked for speed limit on one road to be a constant 35, they bumped it up to 40 because the traffic was traveling 40. So that speed limit is a hard thing to change.
Right.
So that's on them. You can go to the police department and speak to Aram or call Aram Goshgariam on the police department and ask them for crash statistics on that road. So you say, I want to have crash statistics for 39 Uncle Vinny's Depot Road for the last 5 years, and they'll break it down to how many crashes per year so that you can include that into your work. They're very agreeable to give out statistics. They won't say who was involved or whatever, they'll just give you numbers.
Okay.
And they do keep a ton of information on this, because they need it for their own. Where are they going to put their police officers as their, if there's a street that has no crashes on it, you really don't need to be
Yeah.
So they
It's
really.
all digital, so
Yep.
Yeah.
and there's a portal on the county website for crash data as well. I'm not sure how to get there, but it will tell you where crashes are.
But I think on an overall basis, yes, start your letter, and as your neighbors start coming back in a couple months, get the signatures, and then we can just move that forward, because, the more people, the more you complain as a cohesive unit, the more you're going to be heard.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you
Next
very
up.
much.
Sure.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one, I heard from a Cross Street, we're back to Cross Street. We did all that work on Cross Street from 28 to Pleasant,
To the four-way stop.
to the four-way stop, which we now have. This is someone on the extension from that four-way stop to Miles, so the extension across street. And complaints about, can they have no parking in that area? People are parking on lawns. As you start moving, the Harwich Port is a victim of its success. It has the restaurants and everyone's there. So at 11 o'clock at night, people are going back to their cars. They've parked on side streets. In the night, in the dark, voices really carry, doors slam on the car starts up, and there's noise. And as we move people further and further back, they go to further and further back, because the parking in Harwich Port is its own issue. And the complaint was the lost privacy. People were parking on the lawns. I did talk about there is a right-of-way that extends. It's not just where the pavement is, it goes onto your lawn, because there's some amount that's the town's property. But again, I don't know what to do here.
I've seen, like,
Parking, no parking signs is a PD matter, honestly.
I did-
And needs to be recommended by the PD to the board and then voted.
And I did
By the board.
tell this person that contact the police department with these issues for no parking signs. And the person is reluctant to do that.
So.
I'm going to tell them, she's gonna call me back tomorrow to see the gist of the conversation. And I'm going to tell her she's got to contact the police department, because they're the ones who can put up a no parking sign.
Maybe ask Aram to talk to her.
I will do that.
He's
If somebody's
very amenable.
has a problem and they're coming to us first, I don't like that idea that we're gonna undercut the police department and start acting by doing something that it's police business. It's akin to somebody having their road covered with snow and calling us before they call the DPW.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, if you
also-
call me
I
when the
also-
road being plowed, I'm gonna say call the DPW. And if somebody has problems with parking or traffic, they need to speak with the traffic agencies.
And I agree with that, but I also feel that if a resident doesn't, thanks for coming. If a resident comes to us with an issue, I think blowing them off is not the right answer. I think that somebody came, approached the Traffic Safety Committee with this, brought it to the committee, and we are going to suggest back that she contact, and I think it's a good idea, I'll contact Aram and ask him if he'll go give her a call directly. But I think just to say, well, because we are an advisory committee, we can advise people what to do. I don't want to get in the way of the police following their own rules, but I think it is up to us as a committee to then contact the police and say, there's this issue that has developed somewhere, can we talk to about it? And usually Aram Goskarian, who's our member of our committee, he has a police department, and he usually can answer those for us right then and there as to what he can do, what he can't do.
And he's got great interpersonal skills.
Yes, he
Doesn't
does.
come off as a police officer, is easy to talk to. he's the right man to have as an intermediary.
to be
there.
doing this.
Yes.
But I do feel that if somebody comes to us, we need to provide some response back,
Yeah.
and not just
Agreed.
say, go.
Yeah, I agree, but we can't give an answer, we can give advice.
Yes, we can, but, and I think that the advice, I strongly feel the advice is what we give. We just gave these, we had the people here from the Uncle Vinnie's Road area. We gave them the advice of what to do. It's up to them now to go do it, and then we can help move something forward. But I do feel strongly that that's our job as a committee. Anything else we want to talk about?
Very briefly, I don't know how many are paying attention, but Mass DOT on a meeting, JTC meeting, Joint Transportation Committee meeting that I had on Friday, slid 3 of our ongoing projects into federal 26 without discussion, without notification, without my knowledge. I didn't take it so well. I've been working very diligently to keep these projects on track, particularly the Safe Routes to School project. What that means in reality might not be much. And I say might not because under normal circumstances, if a project doesn't meet an advertised federal fiscal year, September 30th, as long as the money stays there, it's no big deal. We advertise in October or November. The public wouldn't know a difference. Most people wouldn't realize difference. I say might because I have other projects. So there's always federal money in these DOT projects. There's ambiguity about the federal money right now. So I was a little, let's say, not happy about that news on Friday and had several subsequent conversations with people that were in the know that didn't bother letting me know. I will do my best to keep the projects on. But the 3 projects we're talking about with the Safe Routes to School that I'm currently working on the right-of-way process for, that we should have our town meeting article for, that I plan on funding the appraisals and the appraisal company and the appraisals with Chapter 90 funds, so we don't need a vote or a funding source for that. And I plan on getting this right-of-way done. The West Harwich, the Dennis Harwich project also got slid to 26 from 25, and that is from the Dennistown line to the Herring River Bridge. Sidewalks, brick sidewalks, period lighting, make it look like Dennisport, essentially, and take care of the 2 intersections that are in Dennisport at it. And what was my other project that slid? Oh, the trail project. They slid without explanation to 2028.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I think this is a reaction of Mass DOT trying to gauge the landscape, which, let's face it, nobody has an answer or knows. The town has a $5 million Route 24 culvert project that's being funded through NRCS and Cape Cod Conservation District. I've not been told those funds are in jeopardy as of yet, but yet another example of something that could be placed on the shelf if the funds dry up, which a lot of them have, a lot of them haven't. But anybody operating in that world where there is, there is a lot more federal funds tied up in everyday things than anybody realizes.
I think that's true.
There really is, and I'm seeing it ancillary to stuff, but I thought I should let you know. You can find, or I could send you a link if you'd like, a project list from Mass DOT. So if you just Google Mass DOT projects, but if you'd like, I could send you a link, Linda, that you could disseminate, and that lists all the projects that, the town's got going or recent projects that were completed.
Is there any way we could put that on the town website? That
I have no objection to that,
just need to speak to the IT person?
probably.
Thank you.
But if you'd like, would you want me to get you that?
Yeah, that would be great.
You've seen that, right? The list of,
And I know I've seen it too, but I think asking if it can be put on the town website on our page, linked projects would be great,
Well,
or DPW or whatever.
yeah, it's just that if they put it on open projects that the town is working on, and to the public out there, the Traffic Safety Committee does have an email, which is,
It is on the bottom of the agenda, traffic.safety@harwich-mass.gov, and that will go directly to the committee.
so if you have a question or a concern, you can send it to them, or we will address it somehow. If it's a police matter, send it to the police. If it's a highway department, send it to the highway, and let them deal with it before we deal with it, and then,
But I'm also happy because I'm the one who reads the emails. You can send anything to me, and I will send it on to the appropriate department. Because I think that's a service you can do, rather than saying, take your email and I'll send it to somebody else. Just do some response, because I think the public necessarily doesn't know where to send something. So they ask us, and if you can then guide them to where they should go.
I responded actually to two separate abutters on Route 28 yesterday. Thank you for your email, sorry about your issues, or having, unfortunately, this is a Mass DOT project, you need to contact them. I've notified both the resident engineer and his supervisor of this. You should be hearing from them shortly. I had to write two of those emails, just simply to let the resident know that I've received their email and I did something, and not relying on others. And you know what? Both those people took time to write back, so thank you very much for your responsiveness.
so there's, on the town webpage, emails for all the different departments. And for some of the people out there that are not digital, like myself so much, that don't have emails, if you want to send a letter to the town of,
Send it to Chatham. I think that's a great idea. They can deal with it.
Former Chatham firefighter.
if they send it to town hall, there's a mailbox for traffic safety, and that we will get it if it's a written letter. So you don't have to use just the email. Any communication would do.
The email is just for simplicity, ease. Anything else to come up? So how'd your first meeting feel?
It was good. It's a lot to take in, but
There's a lot to learn. I mean,
Right.
it's surprising, listening to Link all these years of talking about, if you put in a sidewalk, the reason you have to put in a granite curb is because you need X number of inches from here to here, and if you don't have that space, you have to put in the granite curb. But the design part of this and the rules that you have to follow are really pretty interesting and pretty
Yes, yeah.
intricate.
There's a state law that you're not supposed to park within 20 feet of an intersection. So on Cross and Route 28, people were parking right up to the edge of the sidewalk, and the police put up the sign saying no parking within 20 feet of the intersection. That's so that when vehicles coming in, they have space to make the arc turning into the road. There was a school bus that hit a vehicle that was parked too close. So there's rules that we all learn that are out there that you should have remembered when you were taking your driving lessons 40 years ago,
150 years ago, yeah.
that we get reminded of all the time. Cars have to park with their tires on the right-hand side of the car within 12 inches of the curb. You can't park pointing the other way. That's a state law. So there's rules and things that are out there that we all learn. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Is there anything, before I take that, is there anything else? Good. Jerry?
Motion to adjourn, meeting of March 18th.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Let's go home.